The movie starts with the panicked voice of a man tearfully calling the police for help as he walks into a disordered house
Oh my God.
filled with bloodstains and signs of struggle. He informs the 911 operator that his wife is nowhere to be found.
911, what's your emergency?
It's my wife. She's gone.
So they quickly plan on coming over to the house. In a flashback to 6 weeks earlier, this man, Edward, is happily married to Jade and has a beautiful daughter. He's a surgeon with a passion for saving lives, while his wife, Jade, works as a marketing consultant. Due to the success of her marketing campaigns, a co-worker invites her to an award night, anticipating she'll win an award, so she agrees to attend the award ceremony.
Your award tonight is so well deserved.
That day, after work, she returns home with her sister, Lee, to show off the red dress she plans on wearing to the award party. The husband acts happy to hear about the dress and the award ceremony.
Wow. I thought it was you doing the shopping.
But as soon as Lee leaves to babysit their daughter for the night, he immediately drops off the pretense and puts on a scheming expression. Meanwhile, his wife happily prepares her makeup and happily puts on the red dress. But as she turns to admire the dress in a mirror, she finds several damages and cuts on it. However, she doesn't act shocked. Instead, she looks like she had expected it. Suddenly, her husband shows up beside her to console her for the damaged dress. It turns out he's responsible for it. She immediately accepts his apology and plans on wearing another dress, so he agrees and points out that the red dress she planned on wearing made her look like a whore.
This would have made you look like a whore.
Hearing this, she holds back her tears and prepares to wear something else. At the award party, she wears an old-fashioned dress to accept her award with her husband next to her. While giving a speech, she appreciates her teammates for their contributions and gives them an individual hug. Back at home, her husband suddenly asks about a member of her team and inquires why she had specially thanked him. So she explains that he made the greatest contribution to her team.
He's just part of the team. I gave them both credit.
But her husband finds this humiliating and suddenly grabs and throws her on the bed. She tries to explain to clear the misunderstanding, but he refuses to listen and claims she's ungrateful towards him. He grabs and forcefully throws her to the wall, making her hit her head on a hard portrait. Then he strangles and warns her to never act like that again.
Never forget that.
The next day, as she lays on the bed with a wound on her head, he walks in and plays a romantic song to cheer her up. But she ignores him, so he sits beside her to cuddle up. That day, as they eat breakfast with their daughter, the girl compliments the beautiful flowers on the table, so the man tells her he had bought them as a gift for Jade.
I sure did. Do you know why?
No.
Because she's my little flower.
After the meal, the girl runs off to play, leaving Edward alone with Jade. He asks about her job, so she tells him she intends to work from home for a few days before returning to the office. But he suddenly gets angry at this and yells at her to quit her job and become a stay-at-home mother.
Weak.
Then quit your job. I mean it, Jade.
Why?
As they argue over this, he suddenly receives a call from the hospital, so he drops the argument and leaves to perform surgery. Unknown to them, their daughter had been eavesdropping on their argument. As Jade returns to her room, she overhears suppressed sobs from her daughter's room, so she goes to check on her. While putting the little girl to bed, the girl reveals she's aware of the abuse going on in the house. Jade is shocked at this.
Crying because you do, Mommy.
When do I cry?
All the time.
So the next day, as her husband prepares to leave for work, he reminds her to quit her job. As soon as he steps out of the door, she rushes to the room to bring out a hidden box of cash and arranges her clothes to elope with her daughter. She drags the bag over to the doorstep and watches as her husband gets into his car to leave for work. After making sure he's gone, she goes to prepare more things for her escape, but he suddenly returns home and announces she had forgotten his cell phone.
Babe, I left my cell phone in the kitchen.
Seeing his sudden return, she becomes tense and worries about being discovered. But fortunately, he picks up his phone and leaves without noticing the bag at the doorstep. Immediately after he leaves, she grabs her daughter and escapes to stay over at her sister's house. That night, Edward returns home to find a note announcing her escape. He immediately calls her several times, but she ignores all his calls, which causes him to flare up in anger. The next day, she returns to work but finds her husband waiting with a flower in hand for her. However, she's unimpressed and tells him to leave. He tries to convince her to return home with their daughter, but she refuses. As they argue over this, a coworker calls her to attend a meeting, so she leaves him. Seeing how the coworker acts around her, Edward becomes angry and trashes the flower in a bin before leaving. That day after work, as she bids goodbye to her coworker and walks over to her car, she suddenly sees her husband waiting by the car for her. He tells her he won't sign the divorce papers and accuses her of cheating on him with her coworker.
And you think I'm going to sign them so what? You can screw that leech Liam with a clear conscience.
She tries to walk away, but he pins her to the car, making her threaten to file a restraining order on him. Hearing this, he tells her that no one would believe her over a doctor and reminds her of her severe depression case. But she insists that she would rather die than return to him.
I'd rather die than be with you.
As she pulls away to get into her car, he stops her and says he'd prefer to cut her into 1,000,000 pieces than to watch her divorce him.
And I'd rather cut you up in 1,000,000 little ways than let anyone else have a piece of you.
5 weeks later, Jade celebrates her successful divorce from Edward with her sister. That night, as she takes out the trash, she notices a strange car in the neighborhood and tries to take a closer look at it, but the car drives away before she can see the driver. The next day, she takes her daughter to a school hangout, and there she meets Edward, her now ex-husband, who introduces her to his new girlfriend. When the girlfriend leaves to meet other guests, Edward tells her of his plan to leave the state for a doctor's conference. Since he would be away for a few weeks, he begs her to let him spend a day with their daughter. So, she agrees to this arrangement. Later that day, she greets her co-workers before clocking out. As she gets to her car, a key suddenly falls on the ground, so she bends over to pick it up. But suddenly, she notices a strange man walking over to her with a gun in hand. As he raises it to shoot her, he suddenly sees someone and quickly walks away. It turns out that one of her co-workers had followed her out for a discussion. But she's too scared to have a discussion with him, so she fearfully gets into her car and drives home to check on her daughter and sister. Seeing no one at home, she panics and immediately calls her ex-husband to accuse him, but he tells her he had just arrived in a new state for the doctor's conference.
She's fine.
Look, Jade, I don't know what's going on, but I've just arrived in Phoenix. I've got to go.
As she ends the call, she finds a text message from her sister saying she had taken the daughter to a library. Feeling relief, Jade goes to the police station to report the incident. But as she walks in, she runs into the chief of police, who also happens to be her ex-husband's best friend.
Oh, Jade, hey,
Hey,
what are you doing here?
The man asks about her ex-husband and reminisces about his close friendship with her ex. Upon hearing all this, Jade changes her mind about reporting the incident since her ex-husband's friend is the chief of police. That night, she opens up to her sister about her years of abuse at her ex-husband's hands.
I think he's trying to kill me. What?
Then, she reveals the incident about the strange gunman. Although she suspects that her ex-husband is trying to kill her, she has no evidence to prove this to the police. And if she reports it without evidence, her ex-husband will paint her as deranged and may ask his best friend, who's the chief of police, to defend him. Upon hearing this, her sister tells her that the best evidence they could get is a direct confession from Edward. That night before sleeping, Jade contemplates her sister's words and decides on a plan.
Leave it as if it came from his own mouth.
So, the next day, she tells her sister to go to the park with her daughter.
Go to the park? That is beautiful, sweetie.
While she stays alone at the house to lure the assassin. Meanwhile, Edward gives a speech at a doctor's conference talking about his goal of saving human life. The assassin arrives at Jade's house and loads his gun before leaving to kill Jade.
Most of us in this room have devoted.
Then, the scene suddenly shifts to Jade having a struggle with someone, causing bloodstains around the house. After the doctor's conference, Edward receives a text from the assassin, telling him that the job has been completed. He immediately rushes back to the state and goes to Jade's house. Upon entering, he finds blood everywhere with signs of struggle, so he calls 911 to inform them of the situation and that Jade had gone missing.
911, what's your emergency?
It's my wife. She's gone.
After some time, Lee and the daughter return from the park to find him sitting at the doorstep. He informs Lee of the situation and takes his daughter away from her. Lee is shocked to hear that Jade has gone missing and immediately phones her, but it's unreachable. Meanwhile, Edward calls the assassin and tells him to get rid of Jade's body before the cops begin investigating.
Just get rid of the body. We're done.
But the assassin looks worried. It turns out that Jade had faked the bloody room scene to make it look like there was a struggle. She had cut her hands to plaster bloodstains around the house to fake her death. Then she managed to escape before the assassin got in to kill her. Now, at a safe house, she promises to make sure that her ex-husband confesses to his crime of attempted murder.
So I'm gonna make sure you tell them yourself.
Meanwhile, Edward receives a message from an unknown number. When he opens it, he's shocked to see it's a video of his ex-wife on their wedding day. Before he can analyze the video, the doorbell rings with 2 detectives outside. So he narrates how he had found out his wife was missing. He also lies that his wife had severe depression days before their divorce. Hearing this, the detectives reveal that Jade's sister had called to tell them that he had been abusive to Jade and had sent an assassin to kill Jade.
Physical abuse.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Jade's sister came in at the station. She told us Jade recently confided that you'd been abusive during your marriage.
But Edward denies this and claims that Jade's sister has bipolar disorder. He gaslights the 2 male detectives with his convincing words, so they end the interrogation session. As soon as they leave, he reviews the wedding video sent to his phone and wonders who sent it. Meanwhile, Jade watches the news at a safe house and sees a journalist reporting on her case. The reporter announces that she had gone missing after an assassin invaded her house.
So far, detectives on the case have given very little clues as to what may have occurred other than to say.
Seeing this news report, Jade writes a happy anniversary card and visits her husband's workplace with the intention of secretly putting the card in his car. However, as she watches him step out of the car, a hired assassin approaches his car, opens the door, and removes a cash envelope before walking away. Meanwhile, as Edward treats a patient at the hospital, he receives a call from a restaurant telling him about the special reservation that his wife had prepared for him. This leaves him shocked and confused. At the same time, Jade secretly follows the assassin to his hideout and peeps at him through his window. She sees him counting the money from the envelope and watches as he calls her ex-husband to inform him that he had dealt with her body.
Got the cash and her body's dealt with, so now we're done.
Meanwhile, Edward goes to the restaurant and the waiter tells him that his ex-wife had prepared a dinner reservation and a treat for him. As he sits at the reserved table, he sees a card with his ex-wife's handwriting wishing him a happy anniversary. He begins to wonder if she's truly dead, so he storms out of the restaurant and goes home to check on his secret phone. However, he receives a voicemail from the assassin saying he had killed and dealt with the wife's body.
Got the cash and her body's been dealt with, so now we're done.
So he becomes confused. The next day, he visits Jade's sister and asks about the dinner reservation, but she tells him to leave and bangs the door in his face.
I'll kill you myself.
Meanwhile, Jade infiltrates the assassin's hideout and carefully drops a ring box in a conspicuous area. While leaving, she notices some mail on the table and looks through it to find a document with the assassin's full name. So she returns home to research him and ends up discovering he's on patrol. That night, the assassin returns home and sees the ring box on his table. The next day, she sneaks into her ex-husband's house and changes the wallpaper on his laptop. Then, she looks around his house and notices that all her clothes have been removed from the closet. At the same time, Edward is at the hospital making a presentation to a team of doctors. As he connects his laptop to the projector, a wallpaper showing a distorted image of his wife shows up, making all the doctors uncomfortable. He tries to change it, but to no avail. That night, as he returns home, he discovers his wife's clothes around the house, and as he walks into his room, he's shocked to see the award-red dress on the bed. As he walks into the closet, he finds that all her old clothes have been placed back in the closet. Seeing this, he realizes that his wife is still alive. So, he rushes over to the assassin's hideout to ask for proof that the wife is dead. The assassin gives him the ring and insists he had personally killed the wife. Upon seeing the ring, Edward confirms to himself that
I told you I did the job just like I got paid to.
that his wife may be really dead, so he leaves. Unknown to him, Jade had secretly followed him to the assassin's hideout. As she tries to sneak away, she knocks into something, causing a loud noise. The assassin overhears the noise and looks through his window to see her sneaking away. He immediately chases after her with a gun, and as he draws closer to her hiding spot, she hits him with a gas cylinder and escapes to her car. Then, she calls some parole officers to arrest him for going out of his patrol city. Next, she visits a park at midnight, disguises herself to appear dead, and takes photos of the scene. Meanwhile, as Edward walks to his car, he sees a woman who looks a lot like his ex-wife, so he assumes it is her and quickly strangles the person. Later on, he realizes that the woman is his new girlfriend. He tries to apologize for the mistake, but the woman yells at him and leaves.
Please let go of me.
Afterward, he receives a call from the police department telling him to show up for an important situation. At the station, the detectives show him a picture they had received from an anonymous number. It shows the injured arm of his ex-wife. When he asks about the anonymous number, the police tell him it cannot be tracked. He inquires for more about the photo, so they show him tons of other photos they had received from the anonymous sender.
There are more.
And from each of the photos, it looked like his ex-wife was dead. He pretends to be shaken by the photos and leaves. At home, as he thinks about all the strange occurrences that have happened to him, his daughter taps him and asks for a drink.
Can I have some more juice?
But as he pours a drink for her, his hands begin to shake, causing the drink to spill on the table. Whenever he tries to hold on to something, his hands shake in response to psychological trauma from all the strange occurrences happening. Seeing this, he begins to drink excessively. The shaky hands affect him while performing surgery, making him almost lose a patient's life. So, a consultant forces him to take a break from performing surgery. When he insists on working, the consultant threatens to revoke his medical license. Meanwhile,
If it were anyone else, you'd be losing your license right now, so go home.
Jade's sister receives a package with a handwritten letter from Jade telling her she isn't dead. That night, Edward drinks himself to stupor and watches the news report that a candlelight vigil will be held for his missing wife. Suddenly, the house Bluetooth begins to play his wife's favorite song. This sends chills down his nerves, so he walks around the house trying to find his wife's ghost. The door begins to pound, so he goes to close it. But afterwards, he hears his wife's voice calling out to him.
Jade. Jade!
Unable to find the source of the voice, he pulls out his gun from a drawer and fires randomly at the house in panic. A few minutes later, the police arrive at his house due to the gunshots. His friend, who's the chief of police, tries to console him about the loss of his wife. The friend also informs him that his daughter will be taken to a child protection service. The next day, as he returns home from checking on his daughter, he sees his favorite white petal flowers littered everywhere on the floor, so he breaks down in tears, afraid that his ex-wife's ghost is after him. On the day of the candlelight vigil, many people gather to pay their last respects to Jade. As the sister gives a speech, Edward shows up to listen. But he suddenly notices Jade standing amongst the crowd. He tries to chase after her, but his police friend stops him from leaving the vigil. He frees himself from his friend and goes in search of Jade's ghost. After the candle vigil, Jade's sister drives her car to meet up with Jade. Unknown to her, Edward is secretly watching her. He stalks and sees her entering a motel. After she leaves the place, he sneaks into the motel room and finds Jade. He begins to choke her in a bid to kill her. But his chief of police friend suddenly shows up and points a gun at him, telling him to stop.
Let her go, Ed. Let her go.
He's eventually arrested and charged with attempted murder of his wife.